Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, let us try to solve an application problem related to solving quadratic equations by factoring. So the problem we have here is a room has a rectangular floor area of 330 square feet. The length of the floor is seven times more than its width. We need to find the dimensions of the room. So let us understand this. So in here we have a rectangular room. Let's draw the figure. We have a rectangular room, and the area of this rectangle is given to us as 330 square feet. Okay. The length of the floor, the long side, this is the long side and this is the short side. He says the length of the floor is 7 times more than the width. We do not know the width, and he says the length is 7 times more than the width. Let us, for simplicity's sake, let the width be x. Therefore, the length will be 7 times more than the width. So 7 times more means we are going to add. So 7 times more than the width. So now we have the dimensions of the rectangle. The short side, we said let the width be x because we do not know what the width is, and then since the long side was 7 times more than the width, so we said 7 plus x. We want to find the dimensions of this rectangle. We know that the area of a rectangle is given to us as the long side times the width, the short side. So area is given to us as 330 square feet, which is equal to the long side is 7 plus x and the short side is x. So from here we should be able to write out an equation from here. So in here we're going to distribute the x to every one of the terms in here, and when we do that, this is how it's going to come out. 330 is equal to 7x plus x squared. If I were to get the 330 to the right hand side of the equal to sign and then write it out as an equation, we can write this as x squared plus 7x minus 330 is equal to 0. We have a trinomial. We have a polynomial equation here, and therefore we want to factor them. Once we factor it, we should be able to get the value of x, and we will see which value of x we want to use here, and then we will go from there. So to do that, we're going to follow this process. We're going to use this process. So if I call this as step number 1, and if I were to call this as step number 2, in step number 2 we want to use the trial and error process. The trial and error process, as we have seen several times now in my previous presentations, we want to try two numbers, the sum of which should equal the middle term 7, and the product of the same two numbers should equal to negative 330, and that is our intention. So we'll write here trial, and then we'll make a column like this, sum, and then product. So let us take two numbers, the sum of which will equal to 7, and the product of the same two numbers should equal to 330. So in here, if I were to say, if I were to look at this, if I were to say A times C, A is 1 and C is negative 330. If I were to simplify this, 1 times negative 330 is negative 330. If I were to take those two numbers and then sum them together, 1 minus 330 is equal to negative 329. In the product we satisfied the last term, but when we added them together we got negative 329, but what we need here as a middle term is positive 7. So therefore 1 and negative 330 are no good. So let us write that here. This is not good. Let us keep trying. Let us try another set of numbers which when we add will equal to positive 7 and which when we multiply will equal to negative 330. So let us look for those numbers, and then if I wait, let us look for 22 and negative 15. 22 and negative 15. If I were to add them, 22 minus 15 is equal to positive 7. That is the middle term what we have. And then if I were to take those same two numbers and multiply them out, 22 times negative 15 is equal to negative 330. And 22 and negative 15 therefore satisfy the middle term and the last term, and therefore the two numbers we are looking for are 22 and negative 15. So we will use these two numbers to expand the middle term like this. So we'll write that as step number 3. We're going to use x squared plus 7x minus 330 is equal to 0. That is the given expression for us. Now we're going to expand this middle term using 22 and negative 15. We can write this as x squared plus 22x minus 15x minus 330 is equal to 0. Now we can use the factoring by grouping technique to be able to simplify this. We're going to look at the first two terms and the second set of two terms and then factor them out by grouping. So I'm going to write that as step number 4. In here, if I pull out x common between x squared and 22x, what is left in this set of parentheses is x plus 22. Let us check that. X times x is x squared, x times 22 is 22x. So in the second set of terms between negative 15x and negative 330, what is common? Negative 15 is common. So when we pull negative 15 out, so we are left with x inside this set of parentheses plus 22. Negative 15 times x is negative 15x. Negative 15 times positive 22 is negative 330. And all of this is equal to 0. Now, if we look at these two terms, we can factor them out. X plus 22 is common, and therefore what is left here is x minus 15, and that is equal to 0. Now we're going to use the zero factor property, which is telling us that either x plus 22 is equal to 0 or x minus 15 is equal to 0. And when we do that, we can write this one out as follows. X plus 22 equals to 0. From here, if I were to add 22 on, if I subtract 22 on both sides of the equation, I'm going to get the value of x as equal to negative, x equals to negative 22. This is one answer. And the second answer for us is x minus 15 equals to 0. And then in here, if I were to add 15 to both sides of the equation, the positive 15 and negative 15 cancels out, leaving us with x equals to positive 15. So therefore, we have two answers. And what we need to do now is be able to decide which answer we need to pick for our given problem. We have a rectangle, and then we said the long side is 7 times more than the short side, and the short side we said let that short side be equal to x. The value of the side cannot be a negative value, so therefore we're going to disregard the negative value of x and pick the positive value of x. So therefore in here we're going to come back here and say one of the sides of the rectangle is 15 and the long side therefore will be 7 plus 15, which is going to be equal to 22. So therefore one side is 22, the other side is 15. Therefore if we were to come back and then check this value, if we were to check this, the area of a rectangle is equal to the long side times the short side, or the width. Long side times the width. So the long side is 22 and the short side is 15. So 22 times 15 is equal to 330, and that is exactly what was given to us to start with, 330 square feet. The area of the rectangle was given to us as 330 square feet, and what we were required to find is the sides of the rectangle, and we were able to find the sides of the rectangle by using the procedure which we know from this quadratic equation. Okay, so this is the way we want to be able to apply the quadratic equations, and using the factoring technique to be able to solve problems of this nature. In my next presentation, we shall look at some more examples related to factoring quadratic equations.